Many have unknowingly been trying to create a parallel where no parallel exists between free speech rights and the right against discrimination. The attempt is made to compare Trump being deplatformed versus bakers selling cakes to gay couples for weddings. This is an apples and oranges comparison. So today I discuss the legal differences. Let's have a chat. Hello and welcome. If you aren't subscribed, please do. I have been closing in on 1,800 subscribers for some time and would like to hit that mark. With your help, I should get there soon. Thank you. There has been an outcry from the right about their free speech rights being infringed upon by Twitter, Amazon, Facebook, etc. As a result of the riots in the Capitol, Donald Trump has been deplatformed from Twitter, Facebook, and now Parler has lost its servers. As a result, many complain about the loss of their free speech rights. Twitter has people trying to draw a parallel to Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado's Civil Rights Commission, the case involving baking cakes for gay weddings, saying if liberals think a baker shouldn't have the right to refuse to make a cake for a gay couple, why should Twitter have the right to deplatform a conservative ideology that they don't agree with? But these complaints misunderstand the constitutional and civil rights involved in these two very different scenarios. Free speech rights are constitutional rights originating in the First Amendment. The First Amendment reads, Congress shall pass no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Constitutional rights are the individual's rights against the government. Congress shall pass no law, not businesses shall not prohibit. So your constitutional right to free speech is a right that the government can't tell you what you may and may not say. But anyone else may absolutely tell you what you may and may not say. You may or may not listen to them, but that's another issue. It's why McDonald's can tell their employees that they must tell every customer, would you like fries with that? Even if the customer only ordered fries. The First Amendment doesn't apply to your employer unless your employer is the government. And thus, your employer can tell you what you may and may not, or even what you must say in order to continue to be employed there. If you don't agree, you can file a grievance or leave. But you can't bring a claim that they violated your free speech rights because you don't have free speech rights at work. Again, except if your employer is the government. Similarly, if I make a sign that says, Proud Atheist, and put it in my yard, no one has the right to tell me to take it down. But if I make that same sign and put it in my neighbor's yard, my neighbor absolutely has the right to either take it down himself or ask me to take it down. I don't have the right to use someone else's property to speak. This is the situation with Twitter, Facebook, etc. They are private enterprises and private property. Think of them as a public billboard if you're old school like me. Anyone can post on the public billboard, provided you follow the rules of the owner of the billboard. If the owner says no political messages, then you can't post political messages. It's not a violation of your free speech. It's the rules of the person that owns the billboard, and they alone can decide what they do and do not want on their billboard, even though they opened it up to the use of the public. Just like my neighbor can decide what signs he does and does not want in his yard. Just because he didn't invite the public to put signs in his yard, as the billboard owner did, doesn't change the property rights of the property owner. The property owner still has the right to decide what is and is not done with his property. My neighbor not wanting my sign in his yard doesn't violate my free speech rights because my neighbor hasn't passed a law prohibiting my sign. only a rule about the use of his property. If my neighbor goes to city council and urges them to pass a law against atheist science, he's still within his rights to do that. But if the city council then passes such a law, now my free speech rights have been violated. And my religious rights too, but we'll just ignore that part for now. Though it wasn't Congress that passed the law, it's a city ordinance. The Constitution has been interpreted through the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause to apply to all levels of government. So city ordinances must also refrain from violating free speech rights. So you see, Twitter, Facebook, and any other public platforms can't violate a person's free speech rights no matter what they do. No one has a right to Twitter, Facebook, etc. They can provide a public platform, a limited platform, or no platform. It's entirely up to them what they do with their intellectual property that allowed them to create these platforms. Now on to bakers making cakes for gay weddings. This is a discrimination issue. The right against discrimination is a civil right, not a constitutional right. It was created by federal statute with the intent to protect certain classes of people called suspect classes that have been subject to discrimination in the past. It's not a right specifically against the government. It's a personal right on behalf of certain people, suspect class members, not to be discriminated against by both the government and private businesses. Protected classes include race, religion, national origin, ethnicity, gender, and sexual preference. It is illegal for a public business to discriminate against a protected class in their business. It is not illegal to discriminate against an unprotected class. If you want to have a store and put out a sign that says no one wearing red socks may shop there, you can. People wearing red socks are not a protected class. You can ban them from your premises. You can discriminate against them all you want without violating the rights of red sock wearers. Be honest, how many of you checked your sock color when I said that? People in Australia probably aren't wearing any socks. It's too hot there right now. The real problem with the bakers and the cakes was two protected rights came into conflict. The religious First Amendment rights of the baker came into conflict with the civil rights of the customer. But the situation with free speech on Twitter is completely different. Political views or political parties are not protected classes under civil rights protections. So no claim of discrimination can be made by Twitter customers on this basis. If Twitter banned all Irish people from Twitter, that's an ethnic group and a protected class. That would be prohibited discrimination. Now, this didn't happen, but if Twitter banned all Republicans or all Democrats, they could. Political parties are not protected classes, and it is legal for businesses to discriminate against them. Caveat: political ideology is protected in some states under some state laws, but we'll stick with federal laws for this video. There are some rules by the FCC with regard to equal access to public airwaves, like for TV and radio, but that also does not apply here. My point is that not only did Twitter not violate the free speech rights or the civil rights of its customers, they could legally go much farther than they did. That they didn't is evidence that the purpose wasn't to silence conservative voices. The purpose was to silence voices that violated the rules of the platform by inciting violence. And making threats and inciting violence is never okay. Although Twitter didn't ban Republicans or conservatives, many have left the platform because Trump was banned. I, for one, am disappointed because I liked being able to discuss opposing ideology with people holding a different viewpoint. Some of them were just assholes, but some could engage in worthwhile discussions, just like liberals. Some are assholes. Well, some engage in worthwhile discussions, and sometimes it's the same people doing both. I'm also disappointed because, as I mentioned in my last video, if conservatives feel that they can't be heard, they will turn to even crazier ways to get their message across. not realizing that the avenue hasn't been closed. It's just Trump and anyone else who is inciting violence, people who broke the rules of the platform that were banned. As painful as it sometimes is, I think we need to listen to each other. And while I'm not going to change my mind on liberal ideology, sometimes the conservatives have some genuine concerns that we need to take into consideration. So if we have apples and oranges, rather than only keeping the one that I prefer, I'd rather make a fruit salad.
Fruit salad, yummy, yummy. Fruit salad, yummy, yummy.
By engaging with conservatives, I think we gain empathy to their viewpoint, even if we don't agree. If we find the other person's perspective a little nutty, well, a few nuts can really add to the flavor of a fruit salad. Until next time, live your life.